All right, so we're going to do a pick-off today, and on the other side you'll see our dummy hanging from there. And this is what our dummy's hanging on right now. So we just have an adjustable anchor strap with a delta. Delta's kind of the better thing to use there than a carabiner because you can see it loads properly. And then we have a figure 8 knot that's hanging on. The next two ropes, we're really doing the same thing, just with two different devices. This is, I would say, the superior way to do it than this one, and I'll explain that in a second. But this should be something that we've all seen. Ignore the carabiner that I have on here. This is just a safety for now. So I have an adjustable anchor strap, delta again, so it loads correctly. Reeved it through our brake bar, tied it off, and then I just threw a carabiner on that, just to make it a little safer, you know. And the reason why we do that, we have our rope bag down here. We always want to keep our rope up on top versus throwing everything over the bottom, so that if somebody's on this main line, which this is the main line, if they get in a bind, something's jammed up, something like that, all I got to do is run down here. This won't have any weight on it. I pull this off, untie my safety there, and I can lower them down without having to rig anything else up or anything like that. So in a hurry, we can do that, you know, in less than a minute. If we go over here to the yellow line, this is our belay. This would only be suitable for a one-person load, in my opinion, because it has the ID in there. IDs are only good to lower a one-person load, not a two-person load, or light use versus general use. So once again, I didn't put a delta here. The delta would be better, but it's loading okay, you can see. You can't use a delta with your ID, it's just too big. It won't go through those holes, so that's why we got the carabiner there. We can ignore this one down here. Once again, that's just our safety. So we have our ID rigged. This is our belay line, so if something got jammed up on the belay line, we just come here, undo this, undo our safety nut here, pull this around, and then we can lower them down from here. We can lower both of them down at the same time. You can also do the same thing with the was it MPD that's made by CMC. That would be a two-person load instead of this pencil one. So I'm going to flip that back off, double check everything, make sure everything's locked, and it's good. All right, Eric here, he's got his brake bar rack. The reason he's using a brake bar rack, he's going to do a pick-off. That's a two-person load, so we want to shy away from using that pencil ID. And the brake bar can handle the two-person load as long as it's racked with every bar whenever the two-person load's on there. The other thing he's got, this is somewhat new, takes the replace of an anchor strap, or a pick-off strap, sorry. So he's got a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, depends on how we put it there. And it's got a cam built in there. So that's enough to pick up a single person load, but that's all we're using it for, you know, just to pick off a single person load. This black thing here is just a sheath to keep everything from getting tangled up, and then the rest of his ropes in there. I think this will extend out roughly 10 feet, you know, at its max. You want to keep this end of it up by you. That's where your cam is. That's the cam, kind of a light duty cam right there. So we can lock that just like your large 4-to-1 that we use for confined space. We can lock it in the open position or in the closed position there too. So keep that up by you. We also put a delta up here. We started out with a carabiner in there and things got kind of bind up. But if we put our load here on this brake bar, you can see that we have 3 points, you know, the main line's coming down and putting the weight there. Eric's weight's putting it on this end of the triangle, and then our dummy's on this end of the triangle. So it really balances out pretty good here. Next thing we got for our belay system, we're using the Petzl ASAP. Main reason I use the ASAP today, it's a great device, but with just 2 of us here, it was kind of hard to use a muncher hitch or tandem pressix or something like that. So we use this one because no one has to mind it. You know, Eric is fully belayed here on his own with no one having to do anything to him. So in this particular thing, we want it to where it's, let's say, freewheeling, right? But then whenever we pull on it, it'll lock. Make sure that in this position, for what we're doing, it's in the unlocked position. You can see the lock button. When it's in the lock position, that's what we use when we're climbing up something like a water tower, and every step of the way it's going to lock automatically. With this, it will lock. We just have to put a shock load on it for it to lock. Let's see if I can get it to go like that. So, you also, whenever you use that, you have to have Petzl's I don't know what you call a bungee system in there, or a shock load protector there, and that's going to go in the back of Eric. So let's get Eric rigged up here. Eric, I'll let you explain kind of what you're doing on the rack. He's going to tie up to that.
So we're already tied off down there at the bottom for our first thing we got to do is we got to index our rope, so whenever we climb over, we kind of know where we're going to be. We just don't want to grab a tight a rope, or else when we go over the edge, it might be in the wrong spot, or we might fall down a little farther. So we're going to give it about 2 inches. We're going to go ahead and get our little index there. And on our rack, it's got that little dimple right there, so that's where we need to start. And then we're just going to go through. We're going to feed in our rack here. Make sure we got her nice and tight. We're going to go ahead and we're going to tie off, go over that, around. Remember, we got to do a little half a loop there, go underneath. And we're going to hook her right on that edge. Then we're ready to go.
Alright, Eric just undid his knot from his brake bar there, and he's going to go ahead and descend. It's okay for him to take that bar off, because right now he's just a single person load. For those of us that are somewhat lighter weight, you're going to have to do that, otherwise you're not going to go anywhere. So Eric should probably stop about right where he's at there. The butt is, or his butt is pretty close to the elevation of the other guy's head. If we go too far, we're going to really kind of hurt ourselves, because we're not going to be able to pull that dummy up enough to transfer his load from the dummy's main line or safety line to Eric's line. Eric hooked into the waist. Now if we had what we're kind of simulating here is that we have somebody like a roofer that's fallen from a safety harness, something like that. They may not have a connection point there on the waist. Then we could go with the connection point on the back, on the belay side of it. There's also nothing wrong with if we didn't think that harness was good enough, or if it's been compromised because that person hanging in it, we can put our own hasty harness on them also. So Eric's got that hooked up. He's going to go ahead and pull on his 5-to-1 there. You can see how important it is that we maximize the amount of distance between us and our patient there. If we got too close to him, Eric wouldn't have been able to suck all that up. He's pretty much used up or shrunk down that system as much as he could. Next, he's going to undo the patient from his main line. Now, one thing we don't want to do is cut the victim's rope or anything like that. If we was to do that, we'd shock load the whole system, and that's kind of bad practice for our equipment. So weight's been transferred, and Eric's going to go ahead and descend. other thing we could do, if Eric's got his hands full with that person, the way we rig that on the backside, we could go ahead and lower him down, and there'd be nothing wrong with that either from the other side.